Oh my God, I haven't opened a bottle of beer in a while. Here we go. Sorry, guys. I always start off with my opening a can of beer, but I got a bottle today. I got some Bungling. Love this beer. But yeah, I got a bottle. I don't know why I got a bottle this time. Got a 6-pack. Maybe because they went on special. But anyways, welcome, boys and girls, to Bass Kayak and Beers podcast on the Paddle and Fit Network. Got a great episode for you guys. I got some of the saltwater dudes from the Paddlers Playbook. Great saltwater fishing podcast. They kind of started around the same time that I started, and I've been listening to most of their episodes. One of my favorite ones was the one they did, I think, on how to film and record. That was pretty interesting. That was a fun episode. Dustin Nichols. No, actually, they've been on the Dustin Nichols Chasing the Tide, which is our version of saltwater podcast, which you can follow every other Saturday on Paddle and Fin. But the guys from Paddlers Playbook, Chris and Drew, again, one of my favorite podcasts. I'm excited to finally, after begging them for more than a year to come on to the show, they come in. And so it's going to be a great episode. If you haven't listened to the Paddlers Playbook, they come out every other Tuesday, and you can search on it on Paddlers Playbook. And you can also follow them on social media. I'll let them give you all the deets on where to follow them and when and where to listen to the Paddlers Playbook. They also do live shows as well. So it's pretty interesting. If you love saltwater fishing, we've been meaning to learn saltwater kayak fishing. Go give them a follow and listen to their podcast. So it's going to be a fun episode. Other than that, let's see. KBF just dropped their schedule for the Trail Series and the Pro Series. Props to what KBF is doing in Chattanooga. I like the fact that they're really coast to coast. You know, the Hobie BOS, they obviously look for the attendance, and they get situated around, basically don't go west of Texas. But they found their niche. So does the All-American Kayak Series and the Bassmaster Kayak Series. But what I love about KBF, it's really putting trails in places you don't usually see kayak bass fishing trails on a national level. They have it in the Delta. They have it in Lake Havasu, Arizona. I think they have one in Colorado. Last year, they had one in Utah. Not sure about this year. They got one in Oklahoma. They got in Florida. So that really is the definition of a national trail. So I'm sure some of the guys in the West Coast pretty happy about that. I know our buddy Shane Lamont from Bass Thumbs Fishing is excited about that. So, so KBF bringing the National Trail again, Pro Series and the Trail Series. So let's hope they have a great season. If you're fishing it, hope you guys enjoy and have a great time. Other than that, big news on the Bassmasters Kayak Series side. Steve Owens finally has been introduced as a new tournament director, worst kept secret. We're very excited to have Steve Owens at the helm of the Bassmaster Kayak Series. I can't think of a better person available to direct the national trail. And Steve Owens is definitely one of the best at it. I mean, he's proven himself with what he's just done in the past, working with Bassmasters, Hobie BOS, and the College Series and Bass Nation Kayak Series in Tennessee and I think Georgia. He's a tournament director. So very excited. I'm hoping the Bassmasters is not only committed to Steve Owens, but also give him the tools for him to succeed. If they let Steve Owens runs this trail like he wants to run it, there's no doubt this is going to be one of the most popular trails. I've been guilty of very highly criticizing Bassmasters for their decisions. But to see that they're taking a step in the right direction, I'm cautiously optimistic about it. So let's hope it works out for both Bassmaster Kayak Series and Steve Owens. So congratulations, Steve Owens. All right, so we're going to quick waypoints commercial, and then we'll have the guys from the Paddlers Playbook. Before we do, go check out the sponsor, Douglas Outdoors. Go to douglasoutdoors.com. Check out the full lineup of LRS, X Matrix, and award-winning fly fishing rods. So check it out. All right, we got Chris And Drew, was it Mr. Taco Turner, Drew?
Mr. Taco, huh?
Mr. Taco Turner.
When did that come up? I didn't get the memo.
Look, I've wanted a nickname forever, so I got to make up my own. Like nobody has given me a nickname. Chris calls me Baldy, but that's not. I mean,
That's
I
not
don't
a
love. I
nickname.
don't love that
Well,
one. That's not
it
something
used
I
to-
can put
that's
on
how
the
it
back
used-
of a shirt.
That used to be how it came up on my phone. Like he'd call and it'd say Baldy.
So what's your nickname,
That's-
Chris? What's going to be yours? Or you haven't picked one yet?
Can we cuss on this show?
Preferably not.
Well, then we'll keep my nickname out of it, I suppose.
It's gonna be. Oh, Chris, beep beep.
Yeah,
What's your last
yeah,
name,
pretty
Chris?
much. Man, how is that important? No, I'm just kidding. My
I don't
last
know, I
name is
feel like-
Lewis. Man, a good
Lewis.
Welsh last name. Yeah.
There you go. How you guys been doing, man?
I've been good. I've been doing well. I know it says Mr. Taco, but I'm sorry to disappoint you. I know this is Bass Kayak and Beers, but I'm over here drinking coconut water. I've been having stomach issues for the past few weeks, so no beer for me.
Now, Chris, coconut water, man.
Chris will throw down some beers. He may drink one
I-
for me tonight.
I do, but not during the week. I don't
That's true.
usually drink during the week because I'm one of those personality types that when I go in, man, I go in.
It's all or nothing.
It is, man.
It's not gonna
so-
be just one.
Right. We're going to stop in the morning.
When the sun's coming up. When the bite is just right, that's when you're gonna stop.
What's the most? Okay, let's start off. Let's just start off with this. What's the most you've drinking out in one day of like whether it's fishing or something?
Ooh.
Or beers?
We're going to get into that. I've got a great story for this one.
Okay,
I
go
don't-
I
ahead.
was
I don't
17
drink-
years old.
I don't drink a lot of beer, so Chris will have to take care of this.
I was 17 years old. Look, you got to know something. People from Louisiana,
Yep.
there was a point in time where the drinking age limit was not 21. It was much younger than that. And sometimes they even joke that, mamas and daddies in Louisiana like to give their babies a little alcohol in the bottle, help them go to sleep at night.
That.
So we might have got to start back then. But there was a Thanksgiving one year, and I'm pretty sure that we started at about 9:30 in the morning, and we closed a couple bars down that night. And so it must have gone from 9:30 in the morning until 3 a.m.
Wow.
And it was probably at least a beer an hour, if not more, probably more, plus shots. So that's probably the most. Now, the most memorable drinking night ever is living on an infamy due to the Bro Staff and the Bro Staff meetup. If those that don't know and that don't listen to the show, the Bro Staff is what we call our listeners for the Paddlers Playbook.
Yep.
And the Bro Staff meetup is an annual camp and fish where we get together and we just act bunch of hoodlums doing hoodlum stuff, man.
No, it's not hoodlum doing hoodlum stuff. It's a bunch of fishermen out there
Look,
eating way
Friday
too
night-
much food, drinking beer, and going and trying to catch redfish.
I think you both said the
Friday
same thing.
night and Saturday night is hoodlums doing hoodlum stuff. We turn into fishermen as soon as the sun comes up. But the first Bro Staff meetup, I thought it would be great to get like what I would consider like a trail beer, something kind of light to drink, and then have what's called a bedtime beer. You know what a bedtime beer is, Armando?
I have an idea. My idea of a bedtime beer is used to be as college days. Beer you drink like a bottle of beer, and then you fill it to the top with a shot of tequila.
Ooh,
That would be a great bedtime beer.
That
Okay,
was good. Yeah.
so they have beers now that are like 10 and 12%, right? Just buying the beer alone is like 10, 12%. Well, I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy a 6-pack of trail beers and a 6-pack of bedtime beers. I get to the camp and fish, and that night I said, you know what? I really want to drink one of these bedtime beers first. Get a good start to the night. 10% alcohol, and I drank all 6 of them. I don't remember the next 2 days.
He was out.
It was a blur. It was a blur.
Passed out in his excursion, just kicked back. We all were fishing. Everybody went fishing, and Chris was just out in his excursion. They were like, "Oh, when is Chris going to come out?" I'm like, "Bro, I don't know."
Everybody was using my kayaks. People were fishing with my stuff. I didn't care. It was fun but miserable at the same time. Did we lose audio there?
I think we lost.
That was me. I was
Go ahead, man.
burping. And
All of a sudden, Armando's lips are going 100 miles an hour, but there's nothing coming out.
Well, here's how I was going. I hate to ask this question, obviously, but I'll tell you why. It's because
No, I'm not an alcoholic.
No. I can see myself doing that 20 years ago. Like I think I'm way too old for that now.
Oh, he
Like-
hasn't done it since the last.
Okay,
two
so how
Bro Staff
long ago
meetups have
was
been
that,
smooth.
and how old were you back then?
Oh, that was only like 3 years ago.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't that long.
Well,
But
Chris, Chris, you're a young stud still, right?
I'm a grandfather.
Oh, that's right. We said that on your podcast.
yeah, he's an old man. He's an old man.
I'm not.
The
that-
beard is
I mean,
deceiving.
by any means, I'm not extremely old. I'm 45. I'm not like Jeff Malott old.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought he was 18 years old, and he's like, "No, I'm 72."
He's 72. Like Jeff, when I had him on the podcast, he doesn't like, nah, he's not like no, but when I saw him in person, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess he is that old.
He's
Jeff, I love
social
you. If you're
media
listening, I love
friendly
you,
as far
Jeff.
as far as the
man.
way he looks. He's very social media friendly. You know, doesn't probably won't ever show his age.
And and I apologize, I forgot we actually talked about this on y'all's podcast when I was there, and I actually said you were a lot older than you look, or something like that, or vice versa.
I don't know. You guys, look, the entire podcast, for some reason, Armando just wanted to flame me.
No, Armando, you didn't say he was a lot older than he looks. We were just saying that Chris was having a grumpy old man moment. He was having a grumpy old man moment.
I'm not.
He was talking about video games.
Once one thread of Chris threatened me to kick my butt is enough for me to.
That's not what I said. I said I was going to spank you, Armando.
No, then you said it after. Well, then you included Drew. Like the second go around, you included Drew into the
All right,
ass whooping.
Bass Kayak and Beers listeners, like you don't have to, but if you want to weigh in on this, you need to go listen to Armando's episode of the Paddlers Playbook. And
But
then
it's edited, right?
No, I didn't edit hardly any of it. I didn't.
No,
take out
really? Because I
hardly
was just talking
no.
to Dustin about it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you went Paddlers Playbook." Like, and then I was telling the story. It's like I didn't. He said, "It's like, oh," he says, "I didn't know that." It's like, "Oh, they probably edited it out."
No, I didn't take very much out at all. I edited the F-bombs, and that is about
He
it.
edited like three F-bombs. He left one of his in there, but edited like
always-
three
That's
of
like
mine.
10% of the F bombs.
I always forget at the beginning. Like, I don't listen to the first, 20 minutes because I'm like, oh, that's not when we cussed. And then I'm dropping F-bombs and everything else. So, I mean, as long as there's only, 1 or 2 F-bombs per episode.
I was genuinely scared. I was at that moment. I was like, "Thank God he doesn't live in Fort
I
Worth."
said it all with a smile. I went back and watched the video. I was smiling the whole time.
Nah, we have fun. We have fun on that episode. Go check it out. I wanted to reshare it. I was just telling Drew before we started recording. It's like, hey, I never got to reshare it on my social media because you guys never posted about it.
We're
Like
not
maybe
good
they were
on social,
embarrassed to have
man.
me. It's like we
We're
don't want people to
horrible.
know that Armando was here.
We're
It's
horrible on
post
social
about it.
media.
You know what's funny?
Go ahead, Chris.
If we were better on social media, I think that's why we've constantly tried to find someone that could run our social media for us and include them in the show, because I believe that if we were better on social media, then honestly our following and our listenership would be tenfold. But we just, we really suck
We
at
like
social
we really
media.
suck.
Well, and I get. I mean, let me go back to this. Last year, I think, when you started, Chris, you started doing the recaps, which I thought was a great idea. Like, I follow you guys on social media, and you
That
started doing
was
like oh, this on last year on our first episode we talked about this, and then the next week you could recap the other one, kind of try to get people to listen to previous podcasts. And I thought that was genius. But I get what you're saying, because sometimes, like, I have an immense amount of respect for social media guys, YouTubers, and all that. Like, I've tried it, but at the end of the day, I just want to do kayak fishing. Like, it's one of those things where I don't want to spend 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours editing, you know, like those guys that post 3 or 4 reels a day. I mad props to anybody that does that. I just don't have the patience. Like, even when I'm out fishing, I record on my GoPro. Now I'm kind of used to it, but at the beginning I was like, I don't even want to record. I just want to enjoy myself. Like, I don't want this whole social media thing to ruin my experience. But what I think what you guys do that I really think it's very important. It's actually more important than social media, even though it's not going to give you that huge exposure. Is you guys have this, like, I say this in a good way, like this cult following. Like, you guys know how to represent, like how to not only represent, but create a brand and a culture that the locals enjoy it. Like the bro staff, I mean, the paddlers play the bro staff fans, they're hardcore fans. Like, and I think big props to you guys for that, because you really do create an environment that produces like meaningful connections that extend more than algorithms. If
Oh
that
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah, for sure. Some of the people that have been at the bro staff meetups that we're talking about, or we've met through social media and things like that. Like we hang out with them. We fish with them. We were whenever we started this show, it was about putting forth that lifestyle. The kayaker or kayak fishing lifestyle. And we always want to portray that to our listeners, to the partners that we work with. Like, it's all about living that lifestyle, not like faking the funk for social media. Like,
Yeah.
we're not bigger than the scene. We're not bigger than anything else. We are a part, or we want to be a part of the culture.
I don't
Chris
know,
Lee,
Drew.
do you
You're
look-
pretty big.
Look, not that big, man. I'm really not. I'm not that big.
No, he's
Chris,
not.
what are
He's
what
not.
are your thoughts on that? Like,
He'd break my
uh,
legs though if he sat on my lap. We could talk about the first thing
any
that pops
chance
up
he
though.
gets to put you down.
I
No,
know.
it's not
I'm
like
used
that.
to it.
It's
I'm
not.
used
It's
to
not
it.
like that.
I'm used to it.
It's not. I mean, look. You hear all the jokes he says about this old man Lewis, and grumpy pants over here. It's back and forth. Armando hasn't stopped smiling in like a whole
Yeah.
minute. What's going on?
Can you
there?
hear me though? I think
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like
This
I'm trying
guys, if
this new.
You
Go
can't
ahead.
see this, but what we're looking at is just. I'd take a screenshot of this if you would, please, and then we need to put that on social media.
I got the screenshot. There you go.
All
There we
right,
got it.
perfect.
I don't know why. Let me just switch out. I was trying to get to a more high resolution camera. I was actually using my GoPro as a camera, but yeah, it's not working. Let me just go back to. There we go. Let's just go back to the regular camera here. Anyways,
So-
can you hear me?
Yeah, it looks fine.
Absolutely. One thing that Drew was talking about is like the lifestyle. I will kind of tell on Drew a little bit sometimes, and whenever I first met Drew, there was a purpose. This man was purpose driven, and one of the purposes was not only, and I think it still is, not just to fish and be in the outdoors, but to find a way to fit into the industry. And
Oh, yeah.
I think we all kind of
Network
want
within
that
the
in
industry.
a way. Yeah. And I mean, dude, the first time we did like a big fishing trip with like multiple people, I think we had maybe 12 or 18 people out at this place called Dirty Pelican. And I'm like, where's Drew? And everybody's like, oh, he's having a deep conversation with, this kayak company in the car. He'll come fishing in a little bit. I'm like, man, who opts for a conversation about fishing rather than fishing? But look, the man was not only driven, for fishing, but also a place in the industry. Myself, I came from a place where fishing was almost everything, and I lost that for a long time when I got married to a lady that thought Louis Vuitton purses and Gucci sunglasses were more important than, hanging outside. And whenever I got that back, I didn't want to let it go. So, but like I said earlier, we both suck at social media. So one day, Drew, being the, mastermind behind trying to get into these niches, says, dude, let's do a podcast. Armando, I didn't even know what the hell a podcast was, man.
No, he really didn't. He had never listened to a
Same
podcast
here, man.
before in his life.
If it wasn't for my wife listening to murder podcasts, I wouldn't have known what a podcast was.
You need to run, bro.
I know. No, I'm the best. I'm the most well-behaved husband. Like,
but she's listening to murder podcasts.
They will not find you.
She doesn't even have to check my phone. She already knows. I'm like,
Drew,
I'm messing with this.
Didn't you post something the other day and you were like, guys, if I show up or if I don't show up to work,
if I show up missing in the next 2 weeks, just know that Jessica has been watching those murder your man shows for the past 6 hours and has not left the spot on the couch.
And the thing is, my wife listens to the ones that not the damn near ones, the cycle ones. No, she listens to the people that got away with it, kind of thing, like the people that killed their significant other and they didn't find him until the person
those are the important
50
ones.
Years later. Those are the ones she likes. So
those cold cases.
Yeah, she knows. She already knows all the DNA stuff. Then how to clean it and all that.
Chris, you were talking. You were talking about social media just now and how much we suck at it. We're on social media fairly often, but we're like, hey, we're commenting in groups when people are asking questions about kayaks or me and him are talking.
I hardly ever go to groups. You do, but I hardly ever go to groups.
And then 95% of the time we're talking, we're not talking about the show. We're not talking about what we can do for the show. Like, we're talking about fishing. Like, hey, the weather's like this. I was using this. Why the heck were you using those cheap swim bait hooks? Like, we're talking about fishing stuff. So it's hard to take the time to make a bunch of reels. Next year, Chris has a master plan that he's going to clue me in on, and we're going to try to do like once a quarter, one full day of shooting stuff. Like shooting stuff for reels and shooting stuff for our partners and shooting stuff with our sponsors, merchandise and things like that. And just try to do it like over a weekend and then spread that out over a few months and just do it every once in a while. But we'll see how it all goes.
One of the ones that I really enjoyed was the one you did about, and I mentioned it on the intro, about filming and shooting and all that. And you had two of the top guys that do it, and they were going all over with the settings and all that. And I could not stop laughing every time I say at the end. Chris is like, "I just put it in auto mode. That's it. I'm just gonna put it in auto mode. I ain't messing with that."
Okay, that was a photography
photography
episode with Ben Maldonado, who is actually an acclaimed filmmaker himself. I believe he's done really, really well. And I say acclaimed. He's acclaimed within the network that we reside in. He's known.
But Ben, he legitly went to film school. Like he legit graduated from film school.
Yeah, and I think I remembered somebody's like you guys. I think one of them not got seriously offended, but got like I don't know who, like Chris or do one of you said something like, "Oh, you guys know a little bit." I'm like, the guy was like, Ben was like, "Dude, I went to school. What are you talking
I went to film school.
Oh no!
I said film school.
I said you went to class. Yeah,
yeah.
You went to class for this. I said you went to class for this. He goes, I went to film school. I graduated college.
I mean, he said it with a little college,
Man, he was a little bit ticked off about that.
But we fish with Ben, so we can mess with him like that. Like if you don't have thick skin, you cannot hang around the bro staff at all. You will get. I mean, it's
It's
not as
pretty
bad as
rough, yeah.
KBN. Yeah, it's not as bad as KBN, but it can be pretty rough. Like
Well,
you gotta have
KBN
thick
is
skin.
KBN because it's everybody from everywhere. It's just more like keyboard warriors. Like I still don't know how people get upset at that. Like I've seen guys just go at it. I'm like, dude, it's just keyboard. It's why are you gonna
They're
offend it?
probably
Like,
new to social media.
yeah, it's like it's why
Or
are you
they're
taking
just
it
sensitive.
seriously?
They're just
Bro
sensitive.
staff, you guys are all there,
Yeah, we're not sensitive
Yeah.
at all.
But let
about
me
our-
ask
I
you
mean, my
this now.
nipples are sometimes sensitive.
Here we go. Now, let me ask you this: as far as now that you really built a community, you really built a cult following. You seem to be one of the go-to outlets for people to learn to do saltwater kayak fishing and all that. Has that changed your perspective as far as do you feel a sense of responsibility now to the community, saying, hey, not that you're going to change who you are or anything like that, but more like, hey, I got people now asking me how to do this, how to do that. And has anything in your mentality changed about how you interact with the community as your brand has grown?
Chris, you want to go first?
Um, you know, I can say that I absolutely have not changed at all. Um, the type of person that I am, the way that I speak to people, the way I interact with folks, what you see, and you want to know why? Is because for the past 23 years, I've gone to work. Actually, past 20, let's say 21, because the last 3 years have been completely different. Right?
Yeah.
Work life has just changed dramatically for people. But
Yep.
for 21 years, I had to go to work every single day with my shirt tucked in. I had to speak to people in one tone, one manner,
Yep.
and this is what we call stuffed shirt mentality, right? And whenever I step out of that stuffed shirt mentality, I just want to be myself again. And so I don't give anybody any excuses as to who I am, and I really have a hard time changing that. So it doesn't mean that being on a podcast or speaking to more people doesn't change. Oh, something you probably don't know about me, Armando, and this is another reason why. I've been an entertainer since 1997. And
That's a
what I mean
wide
by
term.
that-
What do you mean by entertainment?
At the
Exactly.
cabaret.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about. I'm like, what do you mean by
That's why he didn't
entertainer?
want to tell his nickname.
That's like saying Instagram model. Like, yeah, it's
No. I've been a DJ, right?
cool.
And in all different facets of entertainment, as far as the largest event I ever DJ'd at was over 5,000 people, and
Wow.
being that type of person, that outgoing, you get that energy sometimes, and you're like, I don't want to let go of that, but social media, you talked about the keyboard warriors and stuff like that. I try to avoid those dudes at all cost.
Yeah.
Drew knows I can get my juices flowing pretty quick, and I get pretty heated, and so I don't want to. I don't want to get. Yeah, well, you should have seen back in the day, man. Whenever I first discovered social media, Drew was there whenever I first started interacting on Facebook, and it was
We had
no
to
bueno,
kick.
man.
We had to
same
kick
here,
Chris
man.
out of the group chat a lot.
Yeah.
He got booted from the group chat fairly often.
I say
back
what
in the
I
day.
want, when I want, how I want, and I don't fit the mold for your typical. We want this guy to promote for us, but then again, I kind of do, because I guess being an avid outdoorsman, fisherman, great promoter as far as being at shows, man. I love to talk, and in real life.
That's where you
another
shine.
thing that drives.
That's where you
Yeah,
shine.
I love to talk in real life, man. I love to go to shows, but I've been going to what we call it, like marketing shows since the 90s, man. Like where trade shows. That's the word I'm looking for. Trade shows since the 90s. Where, I mean, Drew's so young, they probably never had those things. They were already on the internet.
I went to trade shows and flea markets. I mean, but I wasn't like you, like at Circuit
A trade
City
show is not
slanging
synonymous with
VCRs.
flea market.
Like, wasn't slanging
That's-
VCRs
That's
at
why.
Circuit City.
That's why modern day shuttles. That's why modern day shuttles crash, because none of you guys learned how to set VCR clocks.
I have no idea what that's supposed to mean at all.
Like that's a weird. That I get what he's saying. That's the weird part about it. Like I totally get it. Like I would have said like, no, I don't get it, but I actually do get what he's saying.
I don't.
Armando, you're kind of old like that.
Yeah.
Chris is lying to y'all a little bit though. Like he's saying
Okay,
that
let's
he's
hear
been
it.
the same person, but Chris has toned it down a lot.
He's
since we started the
he's
show.
gonna say I have maybe I have.
You've toned it down. Like
I'm
I've
not as
had to
busy
send
as
you
I used to be.
messages, and I'm like, "Hey, dude, don't get a Facebook ban because we need to promote the show. Like, chill out on what you're saying." But you
Get a
you
burner
have toned it
account
down.
to unleash all that.
That's true. He could get a burner.
I just don't
account.
get on there anymore.
But I don't think, like, I kind of feel a responsibility towards some of our partners. But a lot of our partners are on board because they liked what me and Chris were doing when we didn't have any partners at all. Like we weren't working with people. They liked the way that we worked. And I've talked about this online, and I've talked about this in different episodes and stuff. But I've kind of changed. I mean, I've been kayaking since 2006 though. Like me and Chris have been in the game and fishing together for past probably 10, 11, 12 years. And I was
Homeboy, it's been a lot longer. It's been longer than that, I think.
I don't know.
When you think about it, like 2011. Well, yeah, that was 11 years ago. So
yeah, that was about when we started 2010,
Yeah.
2011 when we started hanging out. But I was just so gung ho to work with any company. Like I wanted to be one of those get 20% off and hashtag everything for everybody. I was
the
so
epitome
wanting,
of bro staff.
Yeah, I wanted to be on a team. You know, I worked with a few companies, and I was like, this is the greatest thing in the world. And then I would post about how great this is, and this is the ultimate fishing machine, and everything's so awesome about this kayak. Everything's so awesome about this rod holder. This cup holder is the best cup holder ever. Like everything was, you know, the companies that I worked with are absolutely top notch. Where now having partners that have products, but also having listeners who count on mine and Chris's word on what we are saying works. Because me and Chris both fish tournaments too. I've had a really good year this year. Chris has had a lot of good years in the past. But whenever we
In the past.
yeah, you had a crappy year this year. So, and we've talked about that. But if me or Chris say that this product is better than this product or that product, it's meant that we've spent extended time using all three.
And there's going to be some reasons why.
Yeah, and we're going to give you the reasons why. Whereas in the past, when we didn't have the show, you know, didn't really have anybody listening to us other than, you know, our friends who followed us on Facebook and people in Facebook groups and stuff, it was just XYZ is the best product ever. You know, use XYZ, use the code blah, blah, blah to get 20% off. Where now, I mean, I think I can speak for both me and Chris. We don't even really talk about products. We talk about how excited we are about the new products, but we won't even give our, you know, opinion on a product for 3, 4, 5 months after having it and actually using it, because we want our opinions to hold some weight. Like we want to be, not that we are experts, but if we're talking about something, we want to be an expert
Informed.
on that product that we're talking about and have real world experience with other products in that same area. So that's what's changed a lot for me.
Yeah.
You know how we always, there's these times when new products coming out from, like, let's go ahead and put Pure Fishing out there, and I'll go ahead and use the name Abu Garcia. And when new product is coming out from that company, Drew will get all kinds of shakes, right? I mean, it's like he's seen the crack, and he's a crack addict, and he just can't help himself.
I'm about to order 3 Xenons
Yeah.
tomorrow. Actually, I'm dead serious. I'm about to order 3 new Xenon X's tomorrow.
But we still talk about, for instance, I may have some brand new reels that I just couldn't wait to buy. And I told this world, man, I can't wait to get my hands on these reels. But I won't stop talking about the reels that I've had for the past 3 years that I use every time I fish. And I'll continue to tell you why that specific reel is so damn good, even though I've had 12 different reels in the same amount of time. It's just like those guys with the old greenies, man, that just absolutely love to still throw those things every single day. And I think we had an episode on that. Like, why do we have like brand favorites, and stuff like that? But
loyalty and upgrading and stuff like that.
But I know exactly what Drew is referring to as, like, that feeling you get whenever you first join a company and you're like, oh, I got to start posting about this stuff. It's the absolute best lure, ever. You got to try this. Use this discount code, Mr. Taco 20.
Well,
20% off.
And they've only had the
You want some
lure
notoriety.
Yeah, they've only had the lure for one trip, and they caught like 2 fish on it, and now they're posting the same pic like 7 times, saying how great this is.
And that's a great point that I wanted to add. Oh, go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm not going to lie. I did it a couple times, like back in the beginning of my man's days, and man, I felt dirty. And then my friends came right at me, dude. And they were like, I started getting pictures of them drinking like a soda, but they put a wrap on it and it said man's Kool-Aid on it. And I was like, oh, hell no. I'm not doing that shit again.
That's one thing that I wanted to touch on, because I think we're both in the same position, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. Like, I personally don't live out of this. Now, I have my sponsor, Douglas Rod, and I do get free rods. I do get some money. Then I can't.
How long you been using Douglas
contract.
rods?
I've been using them for 2 years now.
Okay, 2 years. Did they approach you?
I approached them because Brian
Okay.
Schiller, the OG, we call him the OG, Paddle and Fin, told me about it. I ordered them. I tried them, and I was at that point where I realized 3 rods ain't gonna do it for me. I will always thought like, oh yeah, all I need is 1 rod. Then as I got more into kayak fishing and all that, and I need 2. Then I think 3, and I was like, okay, I realize now that I'm just gonna be this guy that's gonna carry as many rods that I can, and I want to be specialized. So I look for a brand that I like, but I also didn't want to go with the brand that's already established. I wanted to go with something that this is quality, something that I trust, but at the same time, it's not St. Croix, it's not G. Loomis, because they're already established. And I wanted to help out a company
Listen up,
that I
folks.
can say, hey, if they grow, I was part of it, instead of something that
Listen
was
up,
established.
folks. If Drew was near his little keyboard thingy, he'd do the wah, 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 wah.
There you go.
Pro tip.
Pro tip. So
But
for all of you guys
going
that
back to that, none of us live out of that. Going back to Douglas, I chose him because I really trust the rods. But I've always, talking myself into doing this, I've always thought I'm never going to be that guy that says, if you are a real fisherman, you have to use this product. Or and that's something I talk with Douglas. It's like, listen, I'm not going to do this. Now I have the rods and if I like them, and I'm going to speak to what I like about them. But I'm not going to be that guy that's going to put down people just to say, like, you're not a serious angler unless you use this product. I think that's disrespectful because, first of all, it's not factual. Anybody can be a serious angler, but maybe they can't afford it. So it kind of puts people down that maybe their budget doesn't allow them to buy a $400 rod. So why am I going to make them feel like crap? Because I'm saying, so there's that balance. Now, what I'm really wanting to head into this is like, I don't live out of this. This is not my job. This is not what brings home the bread. I'm assuming it's the same for you guys.
This
So
cost us money, homie. Like,
it
I
costs
just
us more
dropped
than
$1,000 on
Look,
some
it just
this
equipment.
makes
is-
my cost a little bit easier, but it still costs me more than what I make.
This is
But-
like the first part of what he started talking about whenever he started talking about working with Douglas. And that's why I mentioned the pro tip, because people listen up. If you're interested in fishing seriously, it costs money. And
That's true.
don't be afraid, and don't be full of shame just because you need a little help to get it done. And going to some of these companies, if you're serious and you can actually do something in the industry for yourself and for other people, they'll see value in you, and they'll see value in the things that you do, and they'll be glad to have you on their teams. So whether you approach them or they approached you, I like the fact that you came right out and said, look, I can't afford to do, well, you didn't say it like that, but you're like, look, I don't make a living off of this, and it costs me money. So if I can get help, I can't do it with 3 rods. I need 85 and 85 rods cost a lot of money. So, Douglas Rods, great company. I believe in them. So I went to them and said, hey, look, can you finance 82 of them? Because I already have 3.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much.
But going back to that point, is that to me is like I don't want to put people down and say like you're not a good or serious angler unless you choose this product. That's not necessarily true. There's a lot of great rod companies. Douglas is not the only great rod company. And I say like rods are like your favorite beer, your favorite wine, or your favorite piece of art. Doesn't matter how much it is. If you love it and you like it and it works for you, that's the best one there is. Some people will swear by sticks. They'll say like, "Oh no, sticks is because it works for me. It's durable. It won't break," which they won't. So for them, that's their best deal.
You're talking about like
that's
ugly
what they love
sticks?
doing. Yeah, ugly sticks. Yeah, that's the one I was gonna say. So
Free fishing, baby.
it's that different. So I'm never gonna be, somebody that's gonna put down the community in order to sell a product. I also don't think, and you can tell me what your thoughts on this is like. The word sellout gets thrown out so much. And to me, the way I define somebody that's selling out is that you're promoting something, whether it's a service or product, that you yourself would not invest on, or because you don't believe in it. That to me, and that's just interesting because going back to ugly sticks, there can be people out there. I could say, hey, you know what? I genuinely love ugly sticks. I love it because they're durable. And by the way, they are durable. So that's my favorite rod. And I get a sponsorship with them. I wouldn't call that a sellout, although most people say, oh, this with that crappy. No, that's because regardless of where that product lands in the upper echelon, it's more of like, does the person that's promoting it believe in that product? Now, you can have nobody that is promoting St. Croix or G. Loomis is going to be accused of being a sellout, because we all know those some of the biggest companies.
They're
Now,
more the top of the line.
yeah, but let's just say I'm somebody that I don't like G. Loomis and I think it's overpriced, and all of a sudden I get a sponsorship out of it, and now I'm promoting it. To me, that is the definition of a sellout. Somebody that sells something, regardless of how good or bad the product is. It's if you don't believe in it and now you're promoting it to your followers, because at the end of the day, your followers are the ones that helping you get promoted, and now you're feeding them something that you yourself don't believe in. That's what I define as a sellout.
I would add on top of that not just something that you don't believe in. You should not promote things that you have not used, that you have not put through its paces, that you have not, taken out for half a season, that, you haven't even had on the water. I'm all fully in agreement with the sellout for items that you don't believe in. But one thing, for me and Chris that has really helped us is we made it a point whenever we started talking to partners and sponsors for our show, we did not want to be pigeonholed into small little sectors. Like, we did not want to sign with a bait company, like someone who makes soft plastics. Like, we did not want to sign with a soft plastics company out of Corpus or out of Houston or something like that, because we would be forced to talk about a product that we may or may not love everything about it. So luckily, we're able to work with Pure Fishing, which has, Abu Garcia, Penn, has Berkeley, which has tons of baits and everything.
Yep.
So we really do get to talk about and emphasize the stuff that we're using on a daily basis. Well, weekend basis for me, but on a frequent basis. Same thing with, we work with Mariner Sales. Mariner Sales has every kayak brand except for Jackson, I think, under their roof. They have everything. So we have an opportunity to talk about, Yak Attack products, Yak Gadget products, FPV power batteries. Like, we have an opportunity to talk about all the things that we actually truly believe in. And I think if guys are listening to this, and please just don't be like me whenever I was younger, and me and Chris like to joke, it's those fishermen that have the NASCAR hashtags. They have 23 hashtags on there for companies that they're going to give you 10% off. Like, work hard, get your name out there. If you get out there enough, and if you put quality content, and it doesn't, sometimes just consistent content, it don't even have to be like awesome quality, just consistent, you can get with the bigger and better companies that you don't have to sell out for. So don't sell yourself short just to get that first sponsor so you can have a jersey and throw some
jerseys are expensive
and stuff on there. Jerseys are expensive, man. I'm about to buy some for next year. But
what about you, Chris? What are your thoughts on that subject?
Well, you know what about that hashtag thing, Drew, is my hashtags are stupid. I'll be using hashtags like hashtag is going down like doo-doo brown. Ain't nobody going to click on that and find out what that hashtag
takes you
is
to
used
a
for.
whole different spot in
Dark
Instagram.
web right there.
Whole different spot. That's why the midgets keep coming up on my Instagram feed, because of Chris's hashtags.
Hey, bro, that is so not PC.
We lost Drew for a second here. Go ahead, Chris.
Drew has diverticulitis. He got belly problems, so he probably gotta go.
He didn't
flush down doo-doo brown. What was the question again?
Okay, so what do you
selling
your
out.
opinion on selling out? Where do you draw the line on that?
I was actually called a sellout this year.
Really?
And by none other. Your mic is not working, sir. You're still on mute.
For what company?
My mic?
No. Drew's was working. Drew's was out. No, it wasn't. It wasn't that a company called me a sellout. A person called me a sellout, and the person was something very near and dear to both of us.
I heard.
Drew.
I just heard this story before you got in. From
Did
somebody
you?
else? From Dustin. I think it's the same story.
Nah, this was in private. Jess called me a sellout this year.
Tournament director?
No, Jess, Saltside Jess. Saltside Jess is who does our commercials for us on the Paddlers Playbook, and it just so happens
back,
to
relax,
be
and enjoy the paddle.
That's
Saltside Jess. So
so that's your wife or Drew's wife? I know it's
that is Drew's fiance.
Okay, fiance. Okay, that's what I've heard.
And she's just been a great friend to me ever since we met. A great person, and I really enjoy being around her. But this year she called me a sellout for getting a motorized kayak.
Yeah, yes, she did. She called you smooth out.
Yeah, and I guess that's one way of selling out, because I have always been about the paddle life and maybe even the pedal life. Okay, but and I even told people at the beginning, I was like, look, I'm doing this for science. And it was fun, but we're gonna sell that kayak and move on to something different. Drew, I like the way you put it as far as, working with companies that have multiple brand representation, because so many people have asked me, not only have I been fishing for a long time, but I've been kayaking for a long time. And they've said, if you've been fishing and you've been successful and you've been kayaking and you love it and you're always out there doing it, why aren't you represented by a brand like Hobie? And I said, well, why would I want to pigeonhole myself? I love using Hobie. Okay. At one time I had probably every single Hobie that was ever made. Well, why would I want to pigeonhole myself and have to only use one type of kayak or one brand of kayak whenever I usually have 3 or 4 different brands at one time? And I like them all. There's different things that I love about all of them. So working with a company that can afford me the opportunity to continue trying all the different brands, really, so that I can have fun with them, because they're honestly boy toys, man toys. Sorry, they're man toys. But I can also talk to people about them, right? People like our listeners on our show and on your show. We get to bring a lot of experience whenever it comes to kayak brands.
Chris is not joking when he says like he's had every Hobie, from the Revo to the Tandem Island to the.
Well, I never had a Tandem Island, but I had an Adventure Island.
Adventure Island, sorry. You had the Adventure Island. And then I myself, man, I've been through probably 30 kayaks.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Me and Chris were both really, really bad about just going and getting one, having it 3 or 4 months, selling it, getting a new one, have it 3 or 4 months.
I would say probably closer to a year.
6 months, a year.
But I do like 2 or 3 at a time. Like I'd buy 2 or 3 and then I'd use them for a year and then I'd be like, yo, you know what? I want to try this other one. So I'd sell what I have and then buy the other ones. I'm not the only kayak that I've absolutely been in love with and to this day still use is the Tarpon series kayaks. The Tarpon 160 is one of my favorites. But as far as, man, I kind of have a hard time with the whole sellout thing. I don't think I've ever really used that term, man.
We don't hang out with people like that, though. That's the thing.
I guess not. I guess that's.
Oh, but yeah, no, and I'm sure you don't. But like that's easy. You can easily avoid those people. But having social media, having keyboard warriors come up and
actually,
and even if it's not about people calling you, it's within yourself. Like, how do you feel? Like, what were your
I just thought of something.
Yeah.
I just thought of something. There was a time when the pro staff movement just exploded, right? There was actually a company out there that would do nothing but promote for pro staff. I can't remember the name of that company.
You filled out an application and then they hooked you up with different companies.
Yeah.
It was like dating. It's like a date. It was Tinder for pro staff. Is basically
it was
what
Tinder
it was.
for pro
like,
staff.
Swipe left if you want to. Swipe right for the. I don't even know which way you're supposed to swipe. I haven't been around.
Sure, you do. You sound like a pro there, buddy.
Yeah,
you go right or left.
It sounded like he went down that rabbit hole and then wait a minute, like I have to. How do
I better stop here.
Yeah, let me just say I don't know what.
He's like Tinder. What's Tinder? I don't know what that is. That's my.
That's
steak.
the way I like my steak.
Medium rare.
But so back then there was a lot of selling out, okay, because everybody wanted to be a part of the pro staff, and that's kind of where honestly the term bro staff came from. But I digress. Let me talk about this first. There were companies like Carrot Sticks, notorious for bringing people into their group that had never used their product before, ever. And then all of a sudden, everyone was a Carrot Stick pro staffer. Do you remember that, Drew?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a real company, Carrot Sticks, or you made up?
It used to be.
It used to be.
Yeah. All their rods were orange.
Orange.
Well, most of them. They were orange and then they were white and orange.
Really?
Yep.
Never heard of.
Yep. So, well, this was, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
probably, maybe even longer. I don't know. But anyway,
Armando,
that
to
was
equate it to
probably,
something, it's kind of like the Woo Tungsten, but
Yeah. Yeah, I
that's
was
the
gonna
type
go
of
there,
thing.
like Wu Tungsten. Yeah,
that sounds like a freshwater thing.
It is.
it
When you
is.
throw it, you go, woo, tungsten.
I
That's the
imagine they were
tagline.
going for the Wu Tang Clan angle. I don't know.
So,
Wu Tang Tungsten ain't nothing to mess with.
oh, God. So, now back to the bro staff thing. So, during that time period, um, there was a lot of old school anglers that were legit promotional staff or professional staff for these companies out there, and they started to get sick and tired of the pro staff, try this, it's, and use my discount code. And so they came up with this term bro staff. And Drew, I think he came up with the idea of it. He's like, yo, dude, let's use the term bro staff, but let's flip it. Let's get rid of the negative connotation and make it about brotherhood rather than, you know, um, a discount on
Yeah,
product. And so we stole that term, and honestly, we're gonna do more with that term. We just haven't gotten off our proverbial fat butts to do it. Although mine's proverbial, Drew's isn't. Um,
It's
again,
my belly.
again with the
It's
shots.
my belly. It's not my butt.
Anytime,
It's
any
the
chance he
belly.
gets.
It,
uh,
if it makes him feel better, I just let it happen. I'm
I'm
okay with
just
it.
I'm just jealous, man. That's
I'm
all it
secure in
is.
my full bodiness.
I can't keep my pants up to save my life.
Oh, you should see my.
Uh,
I mean, my. That's funny you said that because we were going through my GoPro footage, and I'm like, Jessica was like, "Pull your pants up." God dang, you can't even get a good. You can't even put that out from the back. 'Cause as
doesn't
soon
that
as you
doesn't
stand
that
up,
doesn't that suck though? Like you set up your cameras perfect, and then you got to stand up to land the
Yeah,
fish, and all you get is crotch shots for like a
yeah.
full
oh,
minute and a half, 2 minutes.
okay, quick plug here because we're just talking about not selling out or anything. But I just set up the Yak Attack boomstick.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Dude, it is great. It has enough. The base has enough. I don't want to say.
Heft.
The base, yeah, it's hefty enough on the base
Yep.
where it doesn't flex really bad, and it's tall enough where you don't have to get an angle too far away from your boat where it looks like you're feeling seasick watching it because the
Yeah,
the bar is going up and down, up and down, up and down. Although the GoPro 10 with the horizontal or the horizon leveling helps out a lot with that though. But that boomstick is legit. I mean, I finally really got to put it through its paces, and that
So
boomstick is awesome.
have you ever did you ever have the old boomstick?
No, I had a
Okay.
ram mount that I added
I have
like 10 dog bones to, and that did not work out.
I have the original, and I don't know if there are any videos out there that compare the original to the new one. And I thought about doing that because the original boomstick, there is so much that they've improved on in the new boomstick, man. And
Well, I think it's mainly
my
the
old one's
lock and
still
load
good for
system.
some things.
Yeah, the
No,
lock
it's
and load
not.
system has helped a lot
It's not just the
compared to
lock
the
and load
old
system
mounting.
though. It's
Well, I'm
it's
just saying,
almost
like the heft of it.
well, yeah, sure. You're not just relying on a ram ball or a ball mount, which is what it used to be. It used to be a peg and a ball mount, I think. No,
Hmm.
yep.
there was a like a turret system on it too, or not a turret, whatever they call it, sprocket, uh, gadget. I don't know.
Adjustable knobby thingy.
Yeah, but the new boomstick is really awesome.
So let me ask you this: now that we talked a little bit about your podcast and how you got started and all that, and what you want to do with it, and the pro staff and all that. Which again, big props to you guys for really building something in that resonates with the community. And I see it on, talking to saltwater guys down there. There seems to be like this real connection with the community that is not superficial. It cannot be measured by algorithms. How did what did you find in kayak fishing that made you feel the need to like share it and build a community around it?
I've always said, and we talked about it a little bit in our episode, Armando, I'm all for people doing things that keeps them from acting crazy in their real life when they're around me at the grocery store or they're driving their car, or I go to a place that they're working at and they're in a good mood to help me out. Kayaking for me, because I have a fairly stressful job. I'm dealing with issues, 8 hours a day while I'm at work. Kayak fishing to me is a very, very active way of relaxing. And when you're out there kayak fishing, it takes your mind away from you can't focus on other things while you're kayak fishing, or you're not going to be successful, and you're not really going to enjoy it unless you just want to go float around. You don't care about catching any fish. But if you want to go catch fish, like, you have to actively be engaged in everything. And that's what I want to share with people. And me and Chris have always had, the same type of thought pattern whenever we were putting together episodes. We want to make people's day on the water more comfortable because we want them to enjoy it, because we want them to do it more. I mean, it's pretty simple. Like, that's why we put out content. We want people to catch fish. We don't want people to have to jack with rods and reels that aren't going to hold up for them. We want to give them tips on baits that have worked for us that we think will work for them. We don't want them to have to struggle as much. We still want them to have to struggle. Now, we're not going to be selling spots on Patreon or anything like that. Like, we still want you to struggle a little bit, because that's part of the process.
Yeah.
But we want them to enjoy it, enjoy being out there on the water, not going crazy, having road rage. Like, people need to find an outlet, and kayak fishing is one of those great outlets, but it can also be very frustrating if you don't know what you're doing out there. So we want to try to help educate and entertain folks so they can have better time out there on the water.
That's awesome. Chris, what about you?
This sounds all very wonderful, Drew, and I feel so relaxed. And
Don't ruin it now.
I'm not. This is my real voice, and this is the way I speak to people on a daily basis. It's amazing and calming,
I love it.
relaxing. Just listen to my voice. Okay, so I'm gonna say something a little bit on the opposite spectrum here, but before I do, I'm going to tell you about a really good fishing partner of mine. His name is Dennis Galvin. He is a librarian, and he's probably one of the most chill people I know in my entire life. But he never, like Drew, would like to get up early in the morning and go fishing.
I still don't like to.
Every time I hear the intro for your podcast, by the way, I just get
I'm
upset.
not
Drew
getting
saying
up
that.
at the butt crack of dawn.
I just get upset. I get all rage, and then I listen to the episode and calm down. But go ahead, Chris. I digress.
Once again,
So
he almost died.
So I used to get Dennis up at like 3 a.m. in the morning to get him to go fishing with me. And he'd be like, Chris, why again are we getting up at freaking 3 a.m. in the morning? And it took about 4 or 5 times for me to take him fishing while the sun is coming up and while all of the earth's creatures are starting to wake up and become vibrant. And then he started to realize watching the world awaken is pretty amazing. Yeah. And it's not like it puts me into a happy place. It honestly makes my heart start to race. I like adrenaline, man, and I'm all for getting out there and doing something crazy. That's why I started getting into it. That's what I really like to bring to the sport. I know we didn't talk about this whenever you were on. You know, we had that discussion about what we like to do for the sport and all that. Yeah. I got more into the analytics of what the sport actually means, but I like doing crazy stuff, dude. I will go out there and paddle a kayak for 20 plus miles and go somewhere absolutely ludicrous just to say I did it. Doing offshore excursions, bro, I was like in heaven. I'm like 100 foot of water below me and I can't see it. What's down there? Gonna jerk me out of the kayak? Let's do it.
I'm done with those days.
Going down falls, bro, let's go.
So
You know,
you want people to experience that same type of rush that you experience.
It's
well,
living, man. I'll tell you that.
all of it, just all of it, from the earth being dead asleep all the way to, you know, doing something crazy that makes you almost poop your pants. You know,
It's
let's do it.
it's fun, and you're talking about the birds waking up and the craziness of it. There is something to be said about, you know, it's the water is so calm, everything's calm, and then all of a sudden it's like hook set
Thermal convection, man.
chaos, like, and then just chaos ensues as soon as you hook that big fish. It's like your drag screaming, like I was watching the video from this weekend. Hook the fish, boom, drag screaming. I'm trying to turn on a camera. I'm trying to flip the other one around. I'm looking for trying to grab my net, and then I'm getting my fish grips, and my little walkie-talkie goes flying in the water. My brother's on his walkie-talkie going, "Come in, submarine. Is this submarine? Come in, submarine," because it's at the bottom of the bay now. And then after the fish gets in and it's released, everything's calm again. It's like calm, 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 chaos. Calm, 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 chaos. If it's a good day, so that calm and chaos, like that's a good mix. That's just enough like serotonin going, just enough craziness for me. Anything more than that, I don't know. Like I'd be on edge all day long.
You know, there's a lot of different aspects of doing this, though. That it's not just the adrenaline, it's not just the fishing, it's not just the paddling in serenity, it's not just the landscape. It's not just there's so many layers, man, and it's more than an onion to peel that sucker back.
Yeah.
It's also the connections that you make with the people. It's the conversations that you have with those people. It's the people that have never heard about what it is that you're doing, that you're sharing a story at a table at work where you're, you got a 30-minute
Everybody
break.
thinks you're crazy because you go
And
out
everybody
kayak.
thinks I'm nuts. Bro, this one guy at work, I mean, he's like a 60-year-old engineer, and he's like, "Man, I've really been thinking about getting one of those kayaks." I said, "Well, buddy, I got a couple for sale. Let me send you the listing." I send him the listing. He's like, "What in the? I didn't know them things were $3,000."
Yeah.
So then he
Can run, yeah.
absolutely thought I was nuts that I had a kayak that was worth $3,000, and I was like, "Dude, it's $3,000 used, bro."
Yeah.
That's not even new price.
Yeah,
That's
that's
not
not
even
and
new
it
price,
keeps
yeah.
going up every time I look at them. They just keep
It
going
does,
up.
man. They're getting a little bit ridiculous. So yeah, there are so many facets to different layers to peel back on kayaking and fishing.
But I think, like I said, Chris, though, you can agree, like, we do the show to be informative, entertaining, but also try to make your time on the water better.
Yeah.
I just love telling stories and talking.
Just get it out of your mind and into the world.
Hey Armando,
Out in the
you know
podcast land.
what I've always said about what's the best way to recharge your batteries. Whenever you have batteries, like, do you have an electric kayak?
No, I just not that I'm against it. I just
All right. Well, what
I haven't
about
gotten it.
do you have rechargeable batteries at your house? Any type of
Yeah,
rechargeable
the lithium's
batteries?
the one for electronic stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lithiums, it used to be nickel cadmium was really bad about this, but you had to really drain that battery all the way down to zero in order to get a really good full charge. That was the best way to recharge your battery. Well, you know what? Your body's the same way, buddy.
Yeah.
So whenever it comes to recharging, you should drain that sucker all the way down. How about those days when you've been out fishing on the kayak and you spent all day long and you're like, "I don't think I could paddle another stroke." And you go home how do you sleep that night?
Oh, like a baby.
Like a freaking baby, man. And you don't even
Yeah.
remember what being a baby's like. But you
See-
sleep dead to the world.
See, Chris, this is why like we've got people talking about the show because they said that they enjoy it because they get to hear the yin and the yang. They get to hear both sides of the story.
Well, we ain't gonna talk about your yang, bro.
Well, you're talking about paddling 20 miles and you sleep good. Man, I'm hitting my motor on my autopilot and taking a melatonin and I'm sleeping just as good, bro. Like, you can have that. That is not why I'm in it. You could go.
Well, I still
drain
got to
your
take
batteries
drugs
all
too,
you
but I
want.
got to
I'ma
take
be
drugs
draining
for
my
other
lithium.
things.
I ain't messing with that.
This is, this is the interesting part because this is the part like on the podcast, we joked that Chris sounds like the old man, but really on the water, it seems like Drew is the old guy. Like he doesn't want to get up early.
Oh,
to
for
go
this
sure.
guy,
fishing. He
100%.
doesn't want to
here.
do this. He doesn't want to do that. Like,
Look,
100%.
man.
I'm not about that grind, baby. I'm not about that. I'm about let's
There-
make this as easy as possible.
Armando, there was this. There's a lot of places that Drew is just now learning how to fish. Okay, because he used to be the type that would just go to one spot, and
That
it
wasn't a far
very-
paddle from the launch.
It was not far from the launch whatsoever. I'm talking 20 yards, 30 yards, and
100 yards to get around
said-
that cut. I know where you're talking about.
I said, "Look, let me take you to this place in Freeport, man, because you don't have to go very far at all, and you can start catching fish." That's when we went over to Old Swan, man, and you were like, "Dude, I like this. I
Yeah.
barely had to go just right there."
I just have to go around the corner to catch fish, man. That's the thing. I'm going there. Like I'm going to fish to relax more than anything, unless it's a tournament. Like if it's a tournament, like I'll grind. We can grind all day long. Like the last tournament, me and Chris both fished in 30-mile-an-hour winds. It was cold. We grinded it out all day. Like
Do you remember the first
casted all
tournament
day
we
long.
ever fished together in?
No, which one was it?
All right, so the first we weren't partnered up, but we fished the same tournament and we fished together, or we launched together. But it was the showdown, the South Texas Showdown,
Oh yeah.
and it was at Fence Lake.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah, I remember.
We fished Fence Lake, so we all launched, and by 11 o'clock, Drew disappeared, and we're like, "Damn, where the hell did Drew go? Like he's gone. We can't find him anywhere." Later on, I get in touch with Drew. I'm like, "Bro, where'd you go?" And he was like, "Man, y'all were doing too much." He's like,
Y'all
"I
were
had
too
to
far away.
leave."
I went
He's
to
like,
the
"I had
first
to
lake.
get the hell out of that."
Yeah, I blew out a few fish and I was done. But I also, I was also definitely not as confident in my own skills in finding fish as I am now. Back because that had to be like 5 or 6 years ago. Like that was a while back.
That was like 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah, that had to be a while. I wasn't confident in my own
And you didn't have a
skills
motor
then.
then either.
That's very true too. And I didn't have pedals, so it took me a while to get pedals. Like I had a PA was my first pedal drive, and that was like 6 years ago. And it's been all downhill
What do
from there.
you fish out of, Armando? I don't even know what you fish out of.
PA 14 360.
I
got
need
throwing
I
that
need
360.
I need y'all's help on what I should get for my boat next year. I don't know.
You don't need our help.
I don't know what I want though. I really don't.
Well, the most
That's
look,
something we don't want to get ourselves like we. I'm sure Chris, because you're closer to Chris and obviously than I am, but I don't. Chris doesn't want to get in trouble with your wife because you're his input because you're gonna blame Chris. Like, well, Chris told me to buy this kayak.
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
it's
100%.
Chris' fault.
It's gonna be Chris's fault. But our partner over at Mariner Sales hooks us up.
Duke Trent.
Yeah, they
Good person.
hook us up, so we kind of get to pick what we want
you
for the
want to
year.
talk that for a little bit, man? Like what would be your next kayak that you
Yeah, what is going to be your next
I
kayak
don't
trip?
know. I don't know.
What are you going to be like?
I mean, I'll be perfectly 100% transparent. I have the big water right now, pedal or for pedals. So if I'm fishing a tournament where I need to use pedals, I use the big water. I love the big water. Um, it's great for marsh. Standing up and paddling it whenever I'm sight casting, that thing glides through the water really, really well because of the way it's set up, and it's very, very stable. It's pretty efficient. It's fast. It's one of the faster old towns. Whenever you're pedaling it, so
That
that
used
is
to
the
be the
one that
Predator, right?
yes, that is the one that I'm keeping. That one's staying here. But for all of this year, I've used the autopilot, and I love the autopilot. I love being able just to hit a button, click, click, click. It sucks putting it on the truck. Like it really sucks, and I do not have room for a trailer in my garage. If I had a trailer, I'd get another autopilot. Plus, it's a little
Yeah, you
slow.
don't have a trailer for that autopilot?
No, I put it.
Damn.
Well, me and my brother, when we're fishing tournaments, we take his trailer and we put it on the bottom for that. But if I'm going solo, it goes in the back in the bed of my truck, and that sucks. Like
Yeah, that's a
I'm not that
big
tall either.
heavy.
You know, I'm 5'8". It's hard for me to lift that 136-pound whatever just to get it on the T-bar to roll it in there. So I'm just trying to figure out something a little bit smaller, a little bit lighter for me to load in the back of the truck, but still be able to have something that's motorized. Now, the only thing there is I am very, very hesitant to do a bow mount on anything because guaranteed redfish are going to run around the front of your kayak.
Yeah.
It's going to happen, and they're going to go underneath. And right now, with the autopilot, for this whole year, nothing has got tied up in my motor.
Lucky
But,
you.
but I'm almost positive that if I put a bow mount on there, there's going to be fish loss to that motor, to that trolling motor on the front, just because of the way that the redfish run whenever they get there, because they go straight under the front of your kayak almost every single time.
And let me ask you this, because I'm completely ignorant. I haven't fished for redfish in a kayak, but I fished for redfish in the marsh on whatever boat they call it. I know it's not it's a different type of boat. I forgot the name.
A skiff.
But yeah, skiff. So it really, I mean, to me, a bow mount is not really needed in the sense that if you go to like a bass fishing lake and you got like 40-foot deep and now you use a bow mount to stay, but marshes usually they tend to be really shallow, right? So you can just stake pole it and don't move, right? Am I wrong?
You can. I used to be that guy, and you can ask Chris.
You've been fishing some deeper water though lately.
Deeper water, but we've been, even in the shallow marshes that we've been fishing, it's a lot more moving. A lot of moving.
Paddle more, cast less, homie.
Yeah, and that's what I've been doing. Is I'm more confident in finding signs of redfish in areas, knowing which points to hit, knowing, if I'm going to fish the leeward shoreline or the windblown shoreline, and if I'm fishing those, which side of the island is going to be the most productive. So I'm more confident in knowing, hey, I'm going to beat the hell out of the backside of this island, and I know that there's going to be a fish there. Whereas before, I would set up mainly at a drain, pole down, and just wait and just cast and cast and cast.
I knew I could always come back to that drain that Drew would still be there.
Yeah, that same drain. Where now, even in, the shallow marshes, I mean, if you got 2 foot of water, you can still stand up and sight cast for redfish with the autopilot. I mean, I can go all the way down a shoreline, all the way around a lake in most lakes and still be able to use the motor. So,
I mean, to me, the motor when we're talking about the motor on the back, like a Taquito or Newport, that's just to get from point A to point B. Like I have a big lake, I have a big trek, then put that thing down, haul ass, and get to my spot. And once I'm there, then I'm just using my paddles. Spot lock, they're so slow that to me that's where I would think that's more not just to get to point A and B, but once you're in point B, you spot lock and then you don't have to worry about anything else.
Uh, yes, but the thing that a lot of bass fishermen, unless they're on the West Coast, we're also fishing tides and moving water.
Oh, that's true.
So it's very nice to be able just to set my autopilot on like 1 or 2 going against the tide, and I'm able to slowly work a shoreline. Whereas if I was coming the other way, I mean, the tide would be pulling me out faster than I want to fish that area. So I can just hit, put it on 1/2, put it on 2, 2.5 if it's really ripping. And I can work my way through areas where the tide's coming out of some of these drains, or even the wind is blowing across this lake, and I'm nosing into the wind, and I'm able to hit different areas a lot more efficiently when I have that motor.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, but a motor on the back, I can still do that. Like I could still put it on 2. I just have to know. I have to either always be nosing into the wind, or pointing the bow into opposite of whichever way the tide is going to really hit those.
You honestly got to go slower.
Yeah.
Then it's more trickier because now the motor's behind you, so the wind hits you, it's gonna pivot.
It's gonna push me side to side, which I want to be able to use, my rudder as well, for drifts whenever I'm not using the motor. So that's why I'm having so much issues, because I'm like, man, I want to be able to use my rudder, because I want to be able to get on a drift whenever I don't need the motor and I'm getting
Sounds
sideways.
like a no-brainer to me.
And I'm drifting this whole shoreline, but I also want to have a motor behind me. But I
Well,
also want to have a motor on the boat.
Kayaks have both now.
Yeah, I mean, they have both, but I don't know which I want to go.
You'll need
to
a trailer for that.
Unless Chris is talking about the Outback, and the only thing about the Outback is hard to stand up from.
Really?
It is. Yeah.
Oh well, so
Not
the
that
seat,
hard. I mean, I've
the seat on the Outback, you have.
Oh, yeah, that's
even
true.
at the high,
Yeah,
and that's
true.
why they had so many issues with the standoffs busting, because when you sit back down, the seat is so low, even in the high position,
Yes.
that
That's true.
you just come slamming down into the damn seat.
Yeah.
Yes, and especially
so-
when you're as fat as I am, like in short, it's hard. Like I have to have a rod holder set up, is like to pull my fat ass up to stand.
They
when
have
I'm in the Outback.
they have a seat issue, and they need to fix that. They need to fix that in the next iteration of Outbacks, because they've got the Outback dialed in to becoming to. It's just such a versatile kayak, man. It is so good that if they can just get that seat right, I think they're golden. The seat is horrible. I can't stand it. And I've had so many Outbacks, and I've used them for tournaments for so long. And the seat is just uncomfortable, and just, I'd rather have a saddle again, the old school saddle. In fact, the Hobie Outback that I'll be using for next year's tournaments, my tournament boat doesn't even have a seat. It's got a damn cooler.
That's funny.
It's a whole lot higher than sitting in that stupid seat. So anyway,
Yeah, that's true.
Drew, look, man, we all know 100% Hobie Mirage Drive is the best human propelled drive system that's been developed.
It's the most efficient.
Yeah.
Which makes it the best.
Which makes it the most efficient. But go ahead.
Prop-driven drives are very inefficient.
Yeah.
They're uncomfortable because they're a fixed position.
They're uncomfortable to you.
I have to agree with Chris
uncomfortable.
on that one. I've tried to use the propeller, and it's just murder on my knees.
I only say that because there's a lot of people who will disagree that say that the bicycle is actually better for their, like, my knees are not sore after using the bicycle, but if I'm using, like, that's one of the reasons why I got rid of my
But if
PA.
you're using the stepper motion, that your knees are sore,
Yes.
you use more of your glutes than
It's-
your quads. And
It bothers my knee more whenever I had my PA compared
Really?
to when I had the PDL. Yep.
that's funny. Well,
Yeah, I'm
anyway,
the opposite.
but all these kayaks now come with the same mounting configuration on the back and a rudder underneath, most of them. So you can look at things like the Native Titan, Native Propel Max. Um, Honestly, the native drives, I think they are probably the best rotary drive. Um, wait,
Oh
no,
no,
no, what? No, it's the
the Old Town
it's the Old Town. It's the Gosh, man, isn't that what is the name of that damn drive?
for Old Town,
Yes,
the
PDL.
PDL.
the PDL. The
Yeah,
PDL has been the maintenance free drive, right? They're the
Yeah.
ones that are like 500,000 miles or your money back type shit. So you have a pretty good line of kayaks to use that have the same mounting configuration for a Torpedo, for an NK180, or the new NK300. And you're saying, oh, but the 30, in their conversation we had the other day, you're like, oh, but we don't have a 36-volt battery yet. We do. They just dropped it like a month and a half, 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we
but
have like a 36-volt. I think it's only like 25 amp or something like that.
but here's my conundrum with that. I absolutely hate the native drive in the marsh because if you get stuck in the mud, if you get too shallow, you have to line up
Yeah.
the propeller to pull it
Yeah.
up. Even if you have the little
That's
stop
any
where you
prop
press
drive,
it
dude.
down. No, it's not because on the Old Town, the whole thing comes up. So if I get stuck in the
Oh,
mud or I get
you're
stuck
talking
in the
about
grass
okay.
in
You're
the
talking
Old
about the whole
Town,
assembly
Yeah.
comes
the
up.
whole propeller and everything comes up. I literally got stuck in my Slayer whenever it was the Slayer Propel. I literally got stuck in my Slayer for like 20 or 30 minutes. I had to jump out, in freaking knee deep, balls deep mud, pull my kayak up and move it over to get my drive up because that's how stuck in the mud I ended up getting.
Well,
So, but none of the old towns have the my mind's blank. The rudder
Yep.
that come down from the bottom, they flip down. Which, if you have a motor mounted on the back, it's hard to flip that down. Whenever because the motor's sitting right behind you. So that's where my conundrum comes. So if anybody can help me out on that, just send me a message and say, "Hey, dummy, you haven't thought of this kayak," because that's the one I may go with next year to put a
P127
Newport
has
on or something.
has P127. The whole assembly. I don't like the way that they did it. To me, it seems like they didn't fully the thought of how they were going to get the drive up and down and in and out of the kayak was not complete.
No, that's how it's been with native. That's my knock on native. Figure out a way to get that drive in and out of the water without stuff splashing everywhere and where the whole propeller can come up.
Yep.
Like, get that done.
I think the new one does. The
We're getting into
one in
the
the
weeds
P127.
now. Like, we're getting way into the weeds on the technical kayak talk. I don't know if we're.
But I mean,
boring anybody to death.
it's a good subject because, like, it's really driven into where
We're
you're
trying to
fishing,
help you
which is
pick your
March.
next kayak,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
because the bass guys that are listening to this, they're just like, whatever, dude. Like, we launch and we're in deep enough water to use our drive.
They don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, they don't have to worry about pulling
Except
their
for
drive
the
until they
dudes
get back to the launch. Unless you're
Except for the
hopping
dudes
over.
that fish Coosa, and all these rivers and stuff that actually have, rocks in shallow water. Those guys aren't using drives.
Yeah, if they're fishing moving water, that's a different story.
Let me ask you this, Chris. Like, I wanted, and I probably missed this. Kind of switching gears. You and probably you, Drew, too, right? You went to the Devil's River, right? And you fished.
Mm-hmm.
How was that trip? Did you put in? I must have missed it. Did you guys put out a video on YouTube or something about it? I know you had your. I remember the stories and on Instagram of you taking all the camera gear and all that. How did that go?
Yeah, I put out quite a bit of media on my trip. Drew went and his guide died. so he couldn't.
He
go,
didn't die.
on the river.
He didn't die. It was my cousin. I still have all the media on the computer. I need to put it together and make a video. But I didn't catch much fish on that trip. We ended up.
That's my bucket list on Devil's River.
I was really, really lucky, and I know Chris is gonna say something here, but I was really fortunate. My cousin is like on a bunch of boards for the state of Texas, and he's on some wildlife committee where he's talking to the governor and everything. Like he's pretty well established in like the conservation part of wildlife here in Texas. And there is right at Dolan Falls, there are some cabins that a conservatory owns.
This dude had Wi-Fi the whole time while he was there.
Yeah, so they own the cabins there, and he was able to get us access to those cabins. So we got to stay at Dolan Falls for 3 days. And the plan was only to stay at Dolan Falls for a day and then paddle down, camp, and then be brought back up for the last night at the cabin. But when we were unloading our kayaks on day 2, my cousin hurt his back, so we didn't want to paddle down, so we stayed at the camp at Dolan Falls for 3 days, and we would paddle up the river. And I think you could paddle, I think it's 3 miles? It's probably 3 miles, 2 miles upriver until you got to another waterfall. So we would just paddle up and then drift our way back. And that was our day, is like a 3 mile paddle and then a 3 mile drift back to the cabin. So I thought it was going to be this big adventure, and I was going to take stuff of, setting up camp and, pretty moonlight and everything on the water. But
you're getting romantic there.
Yeah, it was us like cooking full meals in the cabin, in the oven, and taking showers, and like it wasn't the typical Devil's River experience. So I need to put out the media on that. It was a little different experience, but it is beautiful, man. It is beautiful, that section of river that we got to see.
It's pristine.
Dolan Falls,
untouched area.
It is great. It's definitely an experience that I think everyone that enjoys kayaking should go do at least once.
Yeah, it's on my bucket list.
Yeah, so it wasn't a grind for me, but we intended it to be somewhat of a grind. It just didn't end up working out like that.
Speaking about wildlife and conservatory and all that, and maybe was it you said your cousin, your friend, your brother?
It's my cousin, yeah.
Your cousin. So maybe he actually had some work done in this as well. You got to see the wildlife kind of movie documentary came out. I think it was narrated by Matthew McConaughey. I thought it was great. Forgot the name of it. It just came out, and he went into theaters, and then I think you can see it on like Apple TV or something like that. Pay rent it or own it. But it was a great documentary about Texas wildlife. A lot of interesting stuff.
All right.
You haven't seen it? You haven't heard from it?
I know which one you're talking about, but I haven't seen it, no.
It's pretty cool. You should watch it.
I just watched a documentary recently.
Oh
and my wife thought I was crazy.
I think we're afraid to ask what.
Yeah,
that's why
we're afraid to ask.
Hold on.
For like 2 mornings, she would wake up and she'd be like, "Are you watching that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm trying to get through it without you coming in here and asking me, are you watching that?" But no, I watched a documentary on the Mars rovers because for so long, and you guys probably have no idea what I'm talking about, but that was a huge part of our life at work, was the Mars rovers, because it was a monumentous ordeal.
They're just dune buggies, right?
They are not dune buggies, bro.
They're just easy carts with
what you guys probably don't know is that those
temperature shields.
Those temperature shields. Oh my gosh. Those things were only supposed to be on a 90-day mission, and one of them lasted for 15 years.
Really? It's been that long since those things have been up there?
Exactly. See, I completely forgot about them, and then whenever this documentary just came out, November 4th or something like that, and I was like, I want to watch that. And I was like, damn, 15 years. Anyway, I haven't seen the Matthew McConaughey documentary. I'm going to have to watch it now. My wife and I are big into watching outdoor shows. Like right now, we're watching Alone for like the 5th time, the whole 10 seasons.
Which one's that one?
That's where they take a group of 10 people and they send them out. They only get to bring 10 things with them, and they have to survive alone.
Oh, it's like a reality TV kind of thing.
It's reality TV, but it's a survival
Cool.
show. You know, so
Like
you get
Netflix
to learn
kind
a
of
lot
thing?
about. It's on Discovery Channel.
Oh, cool.
I'm just gonna find Chris if things go down. He can teach me this stuff again.
I'm not very good at most of it, dude.
I can't do all that. I don't watch
we
a
were watching
lot of outdoor stuff.
This dude last night like took down a musk ox with a Bowie knife, bro. And I was like, oh, hell no. If it came down to that, my ass would be like, fuck it, bye. Oh, excuse me, Armando. I'd be like,
Not good, man.
I guess I'm dying.
Don't make him edit this. Golly, you make everybody do extra work, Chris.
It's all
Sorry,
good.
bro. Getting
Nah,
into
it's
the
all good.
conversation, man, the F-bombs just start flying.
You don't think you want to have that adrenaline rush, like you were just saying, and do crazy stuff, like
Okay,
you-
bro.
you
Yeah,
don't
but that's
wanna
life and death.
You don't
Come
want
on.
to
Musk?
jump down on a deer with a knife and just like, "Ah," and then eat its heart right there while it's still pumping, and smear it on your face.
A musk ox, that sucker was like 1,800 pounds, bro. And they're aggressive.
Yep.
They're not.
I don't want to kill it with a knife. That's like that. We need to figure out how to make a spear. Like, let me stay away from
first
this
he-
thing and throw.
First, he
something
shot
at
it. He shot it with an arrow, but he shot it in the butt.
That's
so
not
he's
gonna
like,
help you
well,
out.
that's not going. Yeah. So he tracked it down, and he would run as fast as he could, stab it, and continue running in the direction that he was headed. Turn around, run again, stab it, continue running in the same direction.
This was
that
on
he
TV?
going. Yeah, yeah.
I'm surprised
And
PETA or something like that making a big issue out of it. You know how
right?
they are.
I mean, there's
Like,
a lot
I
of
don't
shows
mind,
that I
but
watch. You ever
I
watch
know.
Forge and Fire?
Yeah, I
Yes.
watched Forge and Fire.
A little bit, yeah.
So like almost every episode, like they chop up a goat. It will kill.
kill.
They like chop up a goat, and I'm like, and they're in New York. I'm going,
Yeah.
how does this show survive? But anyway, sorry, didn't mean to get off
How
track.
did we get there? Like, how did we get from the native drive
It was
being
the
stuck
Matthew
in the mud
McConaughey. It
to
was
somebody
Matthew-
The Matthew
killing
McConaughey
musk
documentary.
ox
Anyways.
with Bowie knives.
If you're driving your kids to school and I just encourage you to watch Matthew McConaughey, not anybody killing
Nobody killing musk ox with knives.
with a bucket knife. That's hardcore.
a pocket knife. Can you imagine somebody getting out their little Swiss Army knife?
What was it? Wasn't it? Somebody had. Robert Turcula or Turcula, whatever you his last name, and I apologize. It shouldn't be spelled mispronounce people's last name, but Robert Turcula from Lunkers TV. I think he had like a controversial YouTube video where they were pig hunting, and I think something happened where they got the pig, and then the final blow is just to stab him in the heart with a knife, like cold-blooded. And I know that, being YouTube, what YouTube is, that got a lot of controversy and stuff like that. But I can't remember. I didn't even watch the episode, but I've heard about it.
YouTube has gotten a lot of nature people in trouble.
Yeah.
Outdoorsmen in trouble. Do you recall about 9 years ago, maybe 10? Under Armour used to have a very prominent and well-known outdoorsman on their staff. Him and his wife were very good at what they do.
Oh, yeah. That's the couple got in trouble the other day.
And, if they got in trouble again the other day, I'm sorry, but I'm talking about 10 years ago. And he hunted down, I think it was a black bear, and killed it with a spear. And the world went absolutely nuts after the video aired, because they felt it to be barbaric. And I'm like, We've been killing things with spears. People
the
still
dawn of
do
time.
it all over
Exactly.
the world. Yeah,
That's
and they,
part of why our brains are where they're at now.
and this is also why I will never wear Under Armour ever again or be a part of their brand whatsoever. You want to talk about sellout? There's a sellout. They canceled. That was probably the start of cancel culture. Was those guys? They canceled that outdoorsman. His whole entire livelihood pretty much hinged on what Under Armour was doing for him or their partnership, and just because he did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah.
That was the content he was putting together.
That was the
There was
content.
this couple that got in trouble not that long ago. I can't remember. I've never watched them, but apparently they're very well-known YouTubers or brand or content creators. They're a couple, married couple, and I think they got in trouble because some of the videos, something proved that they were poaching illegally. And then a whole bunch of things opened up, and I think they ended up being processed. I don't know if they went to jail or whatever. If any of my listeners, leave it on the comments and social
Well, that
media.
they should get. They should
I
get
forgot the
shade
name
for
of that
that.
couple. See if I can Google it. But yeah, that just happened like earlier this year, I think.
They should definitely catch a whole bunch of shade for that.
Yeah, if
Anything
you're
illegal.
poaching,
Yeah, they were poaching just to make YouTube videos. That's the worst part of it.
Yeah, I mean, and if you're pulling out Glocks on otters, you should be shamed.
Oh, what
To
was
death
that?
as
I never
well.
saw that one. I remember
Yeah,
that
if
one
you're-
came out on KBN.
if you're an outdoorsman and you're spending your time outdoors with a red dot on your Glock,
Yeah,
you should be shamed.
the guy literally pulled
I've got a lot
out
of friends that are doing
his
that,
red
so I'm
dot
s-
Glock
I'm sorry.
because 2 otters were swimming up in front of him, and he's like, "These are very dangerous creatures. You never know what they're gonna do," and it's video of him like
Dude, he was
finger sitting
projecting
right there, ready to kill an otter as he's
he
going
was
through the marsh.
projecting his firearm to his kayak partner.
Yeah, swinging it left and right with this guy right, and the guy in front of him's like, "I'm gonna go." So the guy in front of him goes, and he's still pointing the gun like at his friend in front of him at the otter. I'm like, dude, come on, bro. Like,
I saw the post on KBN last year, I think it was, but I never. I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna watch this stuff. But I heard about
they
it.
made stickers, and it's
Yeah.
it's still a thing.
Well, that is
down in
that
this
is just
area.
one of those. That's one of those instances where a YouTuber or some sort of personality, social media personality, will do almost anything for their spot. Their little bit of fame.
Yep.
There's another guy out there, and a lot of people. I mean, this dude. Okay, remember how that one time, Armando, you were on the Paddlers Playbook, and
one of
and
the
I-
hosts threatened to kick my ass. Yeah, scary.
I
By the
lost
way, I
my
found it's Chris. Real quickly, Josh and
Yeah.
Sarah Bomar. That's the couple. Bow hunting couple faces charges in Nebraska's largest poaching case ever. That's the couple I was talking about. Anyways,
Well, it's good they're facing charges. Poaching is no good. But I lost my shit about YouTubers, right? And the whole YouTube craze. And I didn't really mean like YouTube should die, but man, it has really turned some of our culture, upside
Yeah.
down. And that's what I hate about it.
yeah.
And you ever heard of a guy, and he's going to love this. If he ever hears this, he's going to love it because he absolutely loves negative commentary about him because he says it grows his channel and it grows his product. But this jackwagon is named Yak Motley, I think. You ever heard of him?
He's out of Florida.
No,
He's out of Florida, right?
I know one
And
out
his
of Florida.
whole-
But
his
I'll touch
whole
on that later.
shtick, his whole shtick is about negative, commentary. Like he'll put out the trashiest videos just to get views and hits so that people will comment on them. And that's how he got his little silver button or gold button or platinum
Yeah.
button or whatever. And it's like people thrive off of trash content. They
It
really
did do.
This guy with
Right.
the otter blew up. We blew him up.
Yeah,
I refused to share the damn video.
and I
shared it
refused to
with
watch
you,
it
and
because of
was
that.
Yeah, I don't share them.
I've done, and this I'm gonna go here on a tangent here, but whether you like the movie or not, I like the message in the movie. And have you watched? If you're a fan of the Matrix, I loved the first one. The other ones I didn't care for, but I watched the last one that came out, which kind of follows up. But anyways, I'm not going to talk about the movie, but that movie, even though it wasn't a great movie, the message behind it. So the concept with this one is this: it wasn't the same evil. There was a new evil now in the Matrix world, and it was algorithms. So the algorithm was the new evil, not Agent Smith, whatever. The point of this movie is the algorithm thrived on negativity. That's the whole thing of the movie. That's why he was invincible, because hatred and arguments and negativity made him stronger. Which again, that's the moral
Sounds like
aspect
the
of it.
real world, brother.
And that's exactly, it's like that is what the real world is as far as social media goes. And I, for one, don't play into, like, I try my best. Like I going back to Florida, there was this um angler, YouTuber, kind of like trying to follow in the footsteps of the Google Squad. Um and he got pretty big as far as YouTube content created. But I never liked his content because his content was like, I remember one of the episodes, he went to somebody's backyard, like it was like a private neighborhood or whatever, and he's fishing where the sign says private area, do not fish. So the old guy, the owner of the house, like 80-year-old guy, he's just, it's a Sunday, he's minding his own business, enjoying retirement life, and all of a sudden this kid comes up and starts fishing at his backyard, and he's upset. So the other guy, his douchebag friend, is just recording this just to get like, and the guy's upset, like the guy's truly upset, and just like, dude, this is my property, leave. And I got so pissed off at that video. It was like, dude, if somebody comes into my backyard to ruin my day just to make a fishing video out of it or whatever it is, dude, I'll be pretty upset myself. And that's why I hate it. It's like, you're gonna get likes, whatever you're gonna do. Don't do it out of somebody in ruining somebody's day. It's not funny, and I don't never get why people think that's funny. Like, even I don't follow. We talked about that, I think, on your podcast. So I can't remember what podcast I was on, but I think it was yours, where like this guys that go to like golf clubs and ruin people by stealing the balls or hiding with the ghillie net. And it's like, dude, I don't particularly play golf, but I'd be pissed off if I'm paying whatever it costs me to go play golf on my day off and have somebody ruin my day.
And what sucks is there's probably 20 people in the comments saying, "Oh, that old man needs to chill out. He's only fishing."
And that's the thing. Like, they edit it
most
in
of
a
the
way
people
that
are probably.
Yeah,
they always edit it in a way like they're like, "Oh no, I'm totally innocent." But this guy, I was in ICAST this year, and I met up with a good friend of mine. Out of coincidence, I saw him, like, "Oh man, how you doing?" And he's working with this company. He says like, "Well, we just lost our biggest content creator or ambassador, whatever." He says, "What?" And I said, "What happened?" And he says, like, the guy he told me, the guy was like, "Oh yeah, no, I hate that guy. I actually blocked him so I wouldn't get his feed because I don't want to support that kind of." And there were other videos that I thought were way offline. But he says, "Yeah, no, he lost every sponsorship." And I was like, "What happened?" Says he was filming like fishing on surf casting or whatever, and he saw this sea turtle, nesting, or and he grabbed the sea turtle, and all the eggs fell out and got destroyed. Like, he didn't do it on purpose, but when he lifted up, that thing lost all these eggs. And I'm like,
he didn't do it on purpose, but he purposely did it for the camera.
Exactly.
That's the issue.
The problem is, like, first of all, what kind of idiot does that? And second of all, like, why would you record it and post it? So the funny thing is, like, not the funny, I shouldn't say the funny thing, but the uproar that came out of it, he lost all sponsorship. And yet, when I was in ICAST, they had a seminar where they had 3 content creators talk about how to create content, how to grow your content. And guess who's one of those speakers? That guy was one of them. And I was like, what are you gonna say? Don't be an idiot and kill sea turtles? Is that what is it that you're gonna like? You just lost and a guy was like more than I think he still has like 200,000 followers, but he lost all the sponsorship because of it.
The,
And
the,
that's what I hate about this.
the thing about
Going
social
back to
me-
Chris was saying.
the thing about social media and YouTube, and it's nothing that me, Chris, or Armando are going to change, is that you have a vast majority of people who interact with those type of things who have no freaking sense. So the people that are fueling people like him have no sense at all. The people that actually have sense that would comment on how stupid it was, they're not commenting because we don't want to put forth the time or effort to talk about how stupid it is because
To
it's
grow
just like,
their
you're
algorithm.
an idiot. Yeah, it's like you're an idiot. We're not commenting on this. We're not sharing this. And it becomes where it's the crappy stuff is more prevalent.
Yeah.
Because it's getting more attention from the people who are idiots, and the people who disagree with it or don't like it. You don't post, like you don't say anything. You don't get on there and comment and argue with people because you don't want to boost that up.
Yeah.
So it kind of sucks because we have a lot of idiots on social media. We have a lot of idiot followers. We have a lot of idiot commenters, and the people that actually have sense aren't spending a whole bunch of time and effort commenting, making videos on stuff and different things like that. They may make some reaction videos, but that's just how social media and YouTube and everything else is. Now, are there, good quality stuff out there? Our podcast, your podcast, a whole bunch of other podcasts, a bunch of YouTube channels of people who actually get it, but more often than not, the people that have some dang sense, they're not like the uber popular YouTubers. They're not the uber popular entertainers. They're kind of the lower middle of the rung people who have grown a following. And I think that's why to circle all the way back to the beginning of this show where you're talking about that me and Chris kind of have this cult following down here on the coast. Because we're not going to post idiot stuff just to get it out there.
Yeah.
Like we're going to post logical stuff.
At the end of the day, it's going to bite you.
Yeah, we may say some stupid stuff. We may talk about too much, using the bathroom in the marsh and
fat ladies in Alabama.
Gas station tacos and fat ladies in Alabama. But we're not saying anything unethical or doing anything unethical or anything
Borderline
crazy
unethical.
like that. Chris is talking about beating people up, but
What? Weird.
it's nothing.
When did I
it's
talk
nothing,
about beating people up?
It's
I was
nothing.
gonna
It's
spank
nothing
his ass.
crazy. But I don't think any of us want to be popular just to be popular or just to blow up by doing stupid stuff.
I don't
'Cause
want
then
the
that's
responsibility
ultimate-
that comes with being popular.
That's the ultimate sellout, though. That's the ultimate sellout. Like being
Hey.
somebody you're not to please other
That's
people.
true. That's very true.
Do you want to know something?
I know a lot. I want to know a lot of
there's
things.
there's actually the world champion at fishing in people's backyards are saltwater fishermen.
That's true.
Really?
We fish
Well,
in
that
people's
is-
backyards all the damn time.
Well, so do people that fish on lakes.
But when night fishermen
That's very true.
on the coast.
That's a whole
fishermen-
different episode.
So we've got neighborhoods down here that are on the bay that might have 200, 300 houses. And they all live on canals.
They all
And they
have
all
green
have
lights.
lights. And all those lights are full of fish. So it's almost like cheating at night, right? You can go out
Yeah.
there and you can just bag just tons and tons of fish all night long. And we have to fish literally in these people's backyards.
But that's
The
legal.
whole time.
though.
Yeah.
It is.
If you're in the
It is.
water, it's legal.
But
It
but
is.
you will encounter in an evening of
Oh, yeah.
fishing, you will encounter probably half a dozen people that will politely ask you to, move on, and half a dozen people that will tell you to F off. Total Karens. But yeah, we are the world champions at fishing backyards.
What do you do in that aspect? Like, 'cause to me, that's one of the things that piss me off when people think they own the water.
If they're already there fishing,
Oh yeah, no, that's different. Yeah,
that's what Chris is more talking
yeah,
about. If they're
that's
already
different.
there, well, some of them. If you're already there fishing, move on.
Yeah, no,
Don't
of
go.
course.
Yeah,
That's
and
ethical.
even
That's
even if they come out with an attitude, I'm moving on because I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, same here. Same here. I'm
Yeah.
moving on.
I've gotten into it before with the first time that ever happened, I was honestly with JG, and dude, he was like, bro, I'm packing, and I'm gonna whoop it out on this guy if he don't shut up. And I was like, I've never experienced this before in my life. I don't ever want to be around this ever again.
Yeah.
This is no bueno.
yeah.
I,
no,
I
it's-
want to enjoy my time out there. So if somebody comes out screaming and yelling at me not to fish their dock, whatever. I'm gonna go to the next dock. Am I gonna leave thinking that they're idiots and maybe blast them on social media or pay a teenager to egg their house? Maybe, but I'm not I'm not gonna sit there and have the conflict with them.
Yeah.
Well, the hunter harassment laws also apply to fishermen. If I think
does.
so, you can I've seen I know there is. I think it was Skinny Water Boys TV. I forgot his name. God, I had him on the podcast. And Eric Celerio. Eric Celerio he's from Central Texas. I mean, he got not shot at, but he was fishing, and you can see when the splash of the bullet, somebody was shooting next to him to get him off the water or off the water where the people thought it was his land. And I get it. At that point, I'm getting off the water, but you know what? I'm going to Game Warden. I'm like,
Oh,
listen,
absolutely.
I was here. I'm
100%.
pressing charges. Like this
Yes.
cannot happen again.
Yes.
That's once you start firing shots, you're like, okay, I'll get
think-
out, but you're gonna have to deal with the police on this.
Navigable water becomes questionable whenever you're in neighborhood canals. I think there's a thin line there.
They still don't own the water though.
They still don't own the water. You're
And-
correct. But if they wanted to fight it, it would be like, okay, navigable waters. That's what it states. We can draw this thing out, or you can just say, go another direction, fish somewhere else. I like to have a lot of fun while I'm fishing.
Yeah.
I don't want to have a bunch of negativity around me. Drew has done plenty of nighttime excursions with me. He knows I used to own my kayaks based off of how many beers I could drink on them. I had 6 beer kayaks
The
and I had
PA.
12 beer kayaks.
Well, the
Yeah.
PA.
The PA was a 12 beer kayak. I could drink an entire 12 pack.
So it's a PA 12 for that. Okay, I get it.
It was a PA 14. But, we would go out on these nighttime excursions, and man, I'm having a friggin' blast, dude. I'm having such a great time. And as soon as I come across somebody negative, I'll be whatever.
See ya.
I'm moving on. See ya. Yeah, not my deal.
That
And
dock
if-
isn't that important.
Yeah.
That's
If
just
you
mine.
think the navigable term in saltwater canals is I've actually went to the website to check out what it applies to freshwater, and that is a whole another rabbit hole because it depends on where you are in Texas, because then
Mhm.
there are deeds that say you own the water, but then if the water was formerly from Native Americans that were taken over in the Spanish American Wars, this is how crazy it goes.
Really?
Then you cannot own the water even if
Yeah.
your deed says you own it. And then there's the other one is like, well, it depends on where the grass ends and the dirt ends.
Mhm.
And then it's considered navigable even if there is no water because it's still where the water comes out. And other
It's
ones,
still the bed.
it's
Yeah,
just
the
crazy. I was like,
riverbed.
there's like everybody's right and everybody's wrong on this. Like,
Yeah.
there's-
Then you
Louisiana
could go
has
to
some loopholes like that
I was gonna
too.
say,
Yeah.
then you could go to Louisiana and people actually own the water. It's like, what? Huh? What?
They will put fences up
Mhm.
around their water.
You can be here, but you can't anchor because I own what's underneath you. You can't put your power pole down. Like there's some weird
they
stuff.
have there's deeds that preceded some laws that say that they own. So there are areas where it says, yeah, I own the river, but actually it's not I forgot the term, but you can't own it because back then when you bought the land, there were communities that would live downriver, and you could not close water access to them because that's their means of survival. So even if it was just, I read up on it, and anybody who has 4 hours of their time they want to lose reading, go to the website for the what is it, the Texas Wildlife Department. Go search it. It's an interesting read. The only thing is you're gonna come out dumber than you're gonna
Go read it if you want to be dumb.
Read it if you want to be dumber at this, because it really just makes it.
You'll be
worse.
way more confused.
Yeah, it's crazy. But gentlemen, I've had you for 2 hours, and I really appreciate your time. This is the first time I've actually hit the 2 hour mark on that episode, and honestly, I loved every minute of it.
This is easy breezy for us, man.
Yeah, man.
This is we awesome. Didn't even get to talk about like actual red fishing. Like
I know
one thing you wanted to talk about. We didn't even get there. We're gonna have to do it again.
Now I can bring you guys back and talk about it part 2.
We're gonna have to start with that though, so we don't get like way off into
I've listened to your podcast enough that knowing that whatever idea
it's going to go.
Just a suggestion.
Yep.
That probably was not going to fly.
I like that.
But
so,
you know what? Before we leave, I have to correct something. And you know what? If you listen to the episode where we had Armando on, I was correcting him a lot that night, and that's probably why he went off on me. But
I went off, dude. I went off on.
I'm shutting up. Like,
I was confused when you went
at the
on
beginning.
the YouTube
at the beginning of this podcast, we were introduced as a saltwater podcast.
I wanted to say something about that too.
Although we only own like 50% of our episodes as saltwater.
I'd say less than that. I'd say 75% is saltwater.
You think 75% is saltwater?
Yeah. I mean, we've had some good guests on. We've had Armando on. We've had Chad Hoover on, Drew Gregory, the KBN guys.
I'm giving more love to outside of saltwater.
Yeah.
I mean, we do more than just saltwater. I would say 50% of our episodes have nothing to do with saltwater at all.
So let me ask you this, because we live in a different world right now. So what do you identify yourself as? As saltwater anglers? What's the pronoun that I should use?
I am he.
For the Paddlers Playbook.
Look, you guys joke. You guys joke, but before you answer that, I'm not joking. This happened yesterday. So my boss is at my job. We're doing a review of my team and everything, and I get a email because we're starting to take a student therapist at my work. I get an email from Taylor Green. And Taylor Green is the liaison for St. Augustine University that's sending us some therapy students. And under Taylor Green, it says she, her, something else in parentheses under her name. And I was like, oh, wow, that's in her signature on her email. And I looked at my boss who's sitting beside me. I'm like, do I have to start doing that on my email? Like, is that the new thing? Because that is the first time I've seen that. Like,
it's not a requirement.
I was like,
you don't have to.
Well, it was my boss, so I was just like, hey man, is that what I need to do? Do I need to put he? Like
that trend will die soon.
Something like, do I need to do that? But, do we consider ourselves a saltwater podcast?
What do you identify yourself as, Drew?
No, our podcast is a paddling podcast.
I would say it's a kayak fishing podcast with a emphasis on redfish
fishing for sure.
Yeah,
redfish especially.
But the true name of it, if you look it up anywhere, is the Paddlers Playbook, a kayak fishing experience.
Which I love, by the way. I love that.
I would say that it's more, kayak fishing than anything else.
Props to you. You have the best name for a kayak.
Oh, I need to look.
Paddlers Playbook. When I read it the first time, like, this is genius.
Yeah,
I need to pull up all the names that Drew wanted to call it.
You should, the horrible names that we had, Lone Star something or another. Like there were some horrible ones, and I sent Chris a while back.
You landed on the perfect one.
Yeah, the mock-ups of our logos that I worked on and he worked on, and then for my rod building company, the logos. And I sent him a message, and all it said, I sent all the pictures, and I said, I'm glad we had help with this. And I sent all the old ones, and then I showed him the new one, or the one that we went with, and I'm like, oh God, I'm so glad we asked people for help, and I actually paid for my rod logo. Like, these are horrible. Like, we didn't know what we were doing.
Now, props to you guys. By the way, before I let you go, where can people follow you? Social media. Where can people listen to your podcast? Where can people get advice on, kayak fishing from you guys?
So
So
you can
plug it
find
in.
us on all the major platforms. Just search the Paddlers Playbook, or just search kayak fishing, and we'll come up in the algorithm that's evil.
You can
We'll
look
come
for
up in all
Mr.
of those.
Taco.
Yeah, we're on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, all of those that come out, and then we mainly stick to Instagram, Facebook. We have a TikTok. We're trying to do a lot
I'm not
more.
trying to do too much with that.
A lot more with
It's still
that.
such a pain.
That is evil though. Like
Yeah.
I'll scroll through TikTok reels and oh my god, where the 2 hours went. I'm like, oh my god, I've been here 2 hours.
I got to get off of
scrolling
this
through
toilet. My legs
Yes.
are numb.
Yeah.
Now I'm now I'm crawling, waiting for the feelings, blood to rush back to the feet.
But you can find us all there, and then we also, about once a quarter, we'll go live, and we'll do a live episode on Facebook. That way the bro staff can ask questions and things like that. And before we get out of here, I want to really thank the partners that we've been working
Yes.
with, because I think we just heard from all our partners that 2023 is going to be the same as 2022. So we're fortunate enough that we've worked with some really good companies. Real Sportswear, they're out of Corpus Christi, Texas. They make some awesome fishing shirts, guys. And I'm not just saying that. Like,
Not just
We
shirts,
went
shorts,
yeah,
pants.
shorts,
Well,
pants.
The pants are still coming.
The wading pants are coming out next year. But on that Devil's River trip that you were talking about, Armando, I went to pack my gear, and Jessica went to pack her gear, and it's all Real Sportswear stuff. Like, they have some awesome, if you have some female listeners, they make fishing leggings, and they make shirts for the females
Women's
that are
cut, yeah.
performance, women's cut fishing shirts that aren't like your normal drab pastel colors like Columbia and everybody else puts out. But Real Sportswear, we also work with Pure Fishing, which is the parent company for Abu Garcia, Berkeley, Spiderwire,
Ugly Sticks,
Ugly
Pin.
Stick, Pin, Fenwick. So
Savage Gear.
Yeah, we've had a great time working with him, with Danny. He always hooks the bro staff up. And then Mariner Sales up there in your neck of the woods. We've been working with them the past year, and they've been a great
people.
partner to work with. They have
Yeah.
everything under the sun up there.
And Duke would
Man,
do
I'd
whatever
love
to
to-
help you save money too.
I'd love to give a shout out to some of the people that have helped me personally, man. And that's,
Yeah.
Andrew at Real Sportswear.
Yeah.
Fantastic person. Nino Gonzalez at Red Tail Republic, also another fantastic person. That's the guy that he owns a sunglass company here in Texas. And you know what? It's one of the hardest markets to compete in, because all other sunglass companies are owned by a monster conglomerate, Luxana, and it's hard to compete with that. Like you were saying, you loved supporting the small town companies like, what was it, Robinson Rods?
Douglas.
Douglas.
Douglas Rods.
It's getting late around here, and some of us have been at work since like 6 a.m. But and Drew mentioned Danny Wentz. That guy has set me right more times than I can count on both my hands when it comes to using the right product whenever I'm out on the water. So, great group of guys. Yeah, man, let's fish.
I like that.
And you were talking about you need to come down to the Salt, dude. October, the first weekend of October is the bro staff meetup every year.
All right, there we go. Next year.
First Saturday of October, dude. Put it down.
Man, I think we're being asked to move it.
They can ask. That's fine.
So
They can ask
many
all they
people.
want. We can ask them
yeah.
to move theirs. The first week in October, man. That's the pro staff meetup. So
Well, I'm sure
we'll
I'll
see.
go there before that. Hopefully, I won't have to wait till October to get my
And if you like
behind out
skiff
there.
fishing, man, let me know. I usually take at least one person out to drown every month.
There you go.
Look,
Bucket list right there.
He'll pull you around all day long too. Just gotta give him your shoes.
Well,
That's a
guys and
different
girls,
story.
thank you for listening to the episode. Thank you to my guests, Chris and Drew from the Paddlers Playbook. Go check them out. Go follow us. You can follow me on social media, Bass Kayak and Beers, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And if you have any suggestions, you can also email me or send me a DM through social media. Love to hear from my listeners. And go check out the Paddlers Playbook every other Tuesday. All major podcast streaming platforms. It's been the Bass Kayak and Beers. If you're going to be on the water, wear your PFDs. If you're going to have a couple of beers, just make sure you drink responsibly. Make sure you make it back home to your loved ones. Have a great day, everyone. Peace out.
Peace.
See ya.